Recreation and Parks,
One in there.
known as the NBC television show. I have one specific question and then a broad gauge. The specific question is program promotion. In 2011, it was 25 grand. 2012 it was 23. Now it's 5,500. Is that because the promotion moved to PR?
55.
To PR.
This is just flyers.
This is just the flyers and stuff. Now, in a broader sense, what my biggest question is, and you know, full disclosure, I kind of laid this out before. There isn't a particular program that goes on in Parks and Rec that I can point at, but I look at, in this particular case, it appears that Parks and Rec has gone from almost $150,000 difference in the net and $100,000 difference in payroll from in 2 years, 215 making 30. What is this exponential growth that is going on with Rec and Parks? If we opened up the community center full time, 2000. I mean, it's just, I'm looking at this thing and it really has grown. And I'm just trying to figure out, is that good or not? Or it just seems to have jumped an awful lot. Well,
2012.
2011 was 344, and 2015 is 493.
Even the next year was 100,000.
If
In 1 year.
payroll, 5-year average, all in, 312, 140. This year, 444, 710. That's 132, 569 difference. 43.
Comparing it to rather than the averages, again, I think the numbers show a department that is growing exponentially.
13 to 14, Tom, $50,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
that's all I'm asking is this may be, I'm not, I mean, a question obviously sounds like it's a negative, but it's just, what's going on? Because it appears to be just exploding.
Well, I'm just $20,000 jump. Here.
You go from 2011,
Yeah, but I mean, 11, I mean, you got to.
yeah, just this one.
I'm not, well, I'm trying to follow what, I've heard 4 different questions at once. So let's
All of
look-
them mean the same thing.
Well, no, well, wait a minute. If you look at, you're going, okay, let's look at 11. Okay, well, we're going to go that far back, go to 9 or 30. So we had one anomaly, which was in the 300. I can't tell you what that was. I'd have to go back and digest that. But if you look at 434, 403, 441, 473, 471, 441, they're all tracking. This one's a bit higher. I have to go back and look at exactly what that is, but we're in that range, bottom line. I don't see the dramatic change that you're referring to.
Payroll was 100,000.
And $50,000 between 13 and
Here's the numbers I've seen.
and budget 15.
Yeah, it's a $100,000 increase. 3 years. And I mean, now you look at our activities guide. May very well explain it. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of activities and things that are very valuable. I'm just trying to get a handle of it. I'm saying that. Just raising the question.
If they're so valuable, why aren't they reflected in revenue?
Right.
So I'm just trying to get a handle on.
We're actually showing a decrease in revenue.
budget next.
That's because you're taking platform tennis out, which means you took platform tennis payroll out.
Well, it was,
There was platform tennis payroll the year before, I guarantee it.
Well, it's all rackets, that's right.
Yes.
Okie dokie.
I mean, I put
Platform tennis in last year's budget, forget budget, actuals 2012 was 12,610 in revenue, right? And do we have a cost to that?
It's all the way down, it's not not payroll, it's just.
Oh, platform tennis, yeah, it's
Under
not much.
671.
Yeah, it is.
Not-
But there's part of your payroll decrease, I mean, your revenue decrease.
Yeah.
So, how much out?
13,000.
13,000.
13,000.
It's a rather significant increase in insurance.
Well, I think we need to think about is this is something we worked on very hard last year, trying to get more from the county, because we're providing recreation for the northern part of the county.
I'm sorry.
We're providing recreation for the northern part of the county, 40% of our residents. And I don't even know what residents versus property owners, there's two different factors here. And I don't know, Bob, maybe clarify that. If somebody lives in Ocean Pines, do they get it in Ocean Pines fee versus a property? Is there a differential? Because there's a lot of tenants, a lot of kids living with grandparents. I mean, I just don't know.
Right.
So if they're Ocean Pines residents,
If they show a resident address,
then the conflict is the local. Okay.
correct.
Okay. And I understand the logic to that too. You know, tenant is
They live here.
their owners are paying. So I'm just curious which was the difference because I asked Dennis too. You managed to be property owners, not renters.
No, if they
That's
show a local
clarification.
address of Ocean Pines, count them. Yeah, okay.
But we are providing services for the northern part of the county without question. And
There are folks outside of Ocean Pines that use our facilities.
even Delaware, even lower Delaware, they're coming down here. For example, if we didn't do fireworks, there would be nobody in the county other than Ocean City. Because Snow Hill, Berlin, Pocono, they don't do fireworks.
Ocean Downs fireworks.
No.
Secrets.
Secrets does.
At Ocean City, and that's a private business.
Okay.
Outside of the island, there is nobody in the county that does fireworks. We provide fireworks for the entire county, as far as I'm concerned, other than the island, which is a different situation. So when we met with Judy Boggs and Jim Bunting last year, went down to the county and made the presentation budget, we had a lot of facts, which I don't think the county commissioners realized. We got a little bit more money than that. I don't think our fair share. So the question I have, do we look at our projects or our things that we offer people? For example, the skate park is free. Kids don't pay for that. They sign a waiver. They do not pay for usage of the skate park. And I'm not saying they should pay, but I'm saying that's one thing we provide. We provide the fireworks. They're free. There's all kinds of activities that go on here that are free, that cost us money. The big truck day, things like this, people come. I think that's the part of the amenity of living in Ocean Pines, that this is here for people to enjoy. What we as a board have to say, how much are we willing to put of our budget, every property owners, towards this amenity? If they can ever make it break even, heck no, it's no. I personally have no problem with this budget because, in this department, in the recreation, because I think that's something why people choose to come to Ocean Pines versus to Berlin, to Pittsfield, to Whaleyville, or Snow Hill, because of what we offer. But that being said, are we getting our fair share of cost back from the county? Maybe we should say, don't give fireworks anymore. Let the county do it.
Second.
Maybe we should say, if we're going to do a program on Little League ball, the county provides the instructors, we provide the park. I don't know the answers to it. think
Well,
that's why this budget is what it is. I don't see how we can get it wrong unless we make some hard decisions.
yeah, and Sharon, number 16, the Finance Committee recommendation, capturing the data that you need, prove that, these people come from outside. Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Really, yeah. Solid.
Problem we had with getting money from the county all realized it last year with our presentation, your approach, and I compliment you, Bob, for you and your team have done that, and Tom and I gave the actual presentation, but Bob numbers plus finance with Tom. I don't think they realized how much we were actually providing for our people and getting back in return. Little we're getting. That being said, because we're on HOA, all heard this, we don't get our fair share because they legally can't do it. Now we got to find some way to legally do this. And I don't know what it is. If it's grants, I don't know.
Yeah, so we're not eligible for some pass-through money, federal, state, the county does, because of we're not municipality. So that's what they're referring to. Doesn't mean we're not qualified for it doesn't mean we shouldn't be considered more county funding because the county has the funds. They could say, okay, because Ocean Pines doesn't qualify under the municipality for X, we're going to give them out of this bucket this amount of money. So they have the ability to do that. It's whether they choose to or not. So, I know it's something they can certainly do for us. Now, from the Budget and Finance Committee recognized this, and we brought this up, and this is part of what we're working when we're talking about software and the implementation of that. We have done a better job tracking utilization and activities. We're still nowhere near where we should be. We should be able to capture more information and then generate a report more efficiently to show, okay, we did this swim class, and 20% of this class were outside of the Ocean Pines MSA or outside of the whatever we draw it from. When we get the new RecWare and some of the other new software we're looking at, we will be able to build fields to track that even closer. The challenge from a policy or philosophical understanding from the board level, decision has to be made. How far down that differentiation path we want to go? If someone lives in Ocean Pines, but not an owner, do we give them the member rates? We are now, because they're a resident of Ocean Pines, and someone owns the property that they're living in, so we pass that on. So that's more policy the board has to decide, hey, we want to create these different elements based on where we are. Now, from a funding solution, from reaching to the county, right, once we're able to track it more definitively and we can show, I think the 40%, while it's accurate, I think there's enough swag there where I can't say definitively it's 40.6%. I just don't have that number. It's a pretty good swag. So I'm a little careful when I hear that percent number not to be too, the majority of our folks come from our Ocean Pines community, that use our program.
That's true. If you're looking at that 40%, that means 60% is here.
Right.
Yeah, the reality is that while that is certainly a some argument that you make last year, we also that we need to find a way to jointly become more creative in how we can receive support. It doesn't have to necessarily directly in the check. It could be they're paying for the instructor of a program and we're providing the gymnasium. They're paying for the instructor and we're providing the pool. Therefore, we're not having to pay for the instructor. Well, every dollar we don't have to pay for the instructor, we can take from the left hand, put it over here in the right hand, do something else. So it isn't necessarily just, it's a list of things. It's grants, it's other things. But I just think there needs to be a broader, creative way of looking at this to say, not just on our part, but everybody's part, to say, how can we build bridge for the county money to get here? And like I said, one of the examples was let them pay for the instructor. within their park and rec budget. I mean, I don't know if that'll work or not, but this excuse that we're not a municipality, therefore we can't get as much as somebody else, well, to a point, I hear you. The other part is, as Bob just says, there's other revenue streams into that county besides grants. And I think there can be a reasonable, cooperative way of looking at this. To say, look, we're spending, what is our total expenses? $806,000 in rec and parks. And saying to the county, where's some of it coming from you? Because right now it's not.
And Dennis mentioned that county is subsidizing other programs.
Well, exactly.
And we're not getting our.
Right. So again, I may be whistling into the wind. If I am, I am. To me, this is a department that has grown, and year over year, program after program, and at some point, either the county's got to step in and start paying for some of this, or some tough decisions like $18,000 fireworks that we're paying for everybody in the county to come see. Again, as a resident and owner of Ocean Pines, I don't mind paying for fireworks. I don't want to have to go over there for the fireworks, frankly. I mean, that's an expense that doesn't bother me. But again, it's just kind of like the amoeba that just keeps growing.
Could I ask Bob a question? With the differential between an Ocean Pines resident, non-resident, rented, is there a percentage we use, or just $2 or $5? Do we use a percentage on the end?
Probably at least.
So there's at least across the board a 10%
At
differential.
least.
Okay.
Some are at 10.
Yes.
Does anybody here really think the county is to start funding us a great, large percentage for that? The 5-year average county grants were 33. Last year we pumped that up to something 459, which, by the way, is not the most we've ever gotten. But that's a 6% difference. I don't. If they gave us 6% more next year, that isn't anything. That's $27,000. That doesn't fund 1/5 of our payroll
400 goes
increase.
to the police department. 50,000 I probably wrote.
No,
Or 450 went to the police department.
Was it
450 to the
grant
police
goes-
department, and then the 9,500 officially went to the police
so we
department.
understand the road money is not controlled by anybody at the county level. They get a check for $100. We get $6 of
Take
it.
a look. Jeff?
So,
This is not data problem. 40%, 36%. This is not the data problem. This is a government county that is having money shortages as everybody else. And they found a sucker to fund some things that they should be funding. That's what this is. And I personally don't think if we go to numbers, it's going to make the widths for the difference. Now, I can't tell the figures. I don't know if that's true. But I would pony up a bet that says that probably is exactly true.
and I'll buy a lot of that action.
Yeah.
But they don't care.
They don't care, and if we tune up the data, they'll not care. So,
And even if they did care, they ain't got the money.
well, there is that too.
They're going to have to go to Pocomoke and Berlin and say, guys, sorry, Ocean Pines needs another $50 each of you, give me a quarter. Fat chance of that passing.
I'm not sure what you do with that.
I think we do. Do we know how much? Okay, Ocean Pines as a community, every September sends X number of dollars in real estate taxes. That should be an easy number for our finger. A percentage of that money, as an example, you send $100 to Snow Hill. Some amount of that, I'm guessing $8, goes to police protection. Anybody think we're getting a fair deal on that? We're paying for the same amount of money, county police protection, as River Run, Pennington Commons, Riddle Farm, same get zip. They don't even turn in here except to serve
Well,
somebody.
that's not true, because we do working together. I mean, the chief brought that up. Reciprocal agreement all the time. It's 450 some calls, like 490, whatever.
Of
it was.
us,
Yeah.
of us.
No. He said it went both
Both
ways.
ways.
He
Both
said
ways.
where 450 calls where we went outside of our borders to give aid to the county.
Right.
Now, I'm sure we get a lot of help when there's a drug bust or something like that.
We
The
were,
bottom line is, do we as a board, if we don't get another penny from the county, and we're not eligible and don't receive any grants, do we as a board want to say that this number is fine and provide these services for our residents?
No. That's why. Can't afford it.
And what
Well,
number,
you-
Marty, then what number should it be?
We ought to tone it back to the 5-year average. That's what I would.
And what is the 5-year average?
On payroll, 312.
No, the whole, I mean, so you want to tone what back?
The cost of this Parks and Recs.
Tell me what number you'd like to see to be the bottom line. Because right now it's showing.
What I like to
bottom
see
line
doesn't
of
matter. I'd like to
493.
see it be lower. A lot. Now, if you want to
Well,
work,
I'm trying,
you
I'm
want
sorry,
me to pick a number?
no, I'm trying to work-
$400,000 bottom line.
I'm trying to work with you, Mark. I'm just trying to say.
No, you're not. You're trying to spar with me, and that's okay too.
I'm trying to understand you, Mark. If you're saying you want to bring it to this level,
I can make myself clear, Sharon. Lower it. Not as big of a
He
loss.
wants a number of what it
At 132,569 in payroll increases over the 5-year average. To reach that number, cut 72,302 payroll. Done. Next question.
again, that comes from the experience of not managing a lot of people. It's easy to say, cut and be done. We wouldn't be able to offer all these programs.
Yeah,
How do you know how many people I manage in my career?
Well, wait a
Marty,
minute.
I don't mean to be disparaging about, but when you do that, we're talking about, hang on, Jack, you're talking about people's livelihood. We're talking
This is
about-
increases.
Please allow me to finish.
This is not getting us anywhere, guys.
I
understand.
You know what, that's unacceptable, because I'm trying to respond, and I'm doing it nicely. My point is, when you snap your fingers and say cut payroll, what that means to us, folks, is we're gonna have to cut, what we do is cut programs. So we would need a definitive answer, what don't you want to offer as either a program, I'll give you a great example. Concerts in the park. We don't derive any money from it, but it costs us a lot of money to do. I think it's a program we keep doing, but there's no revenue for it. 4th of July, we don't generate revenue. There's 13,000. So when you
that's
make
what
that,
I was asking.
well, Sharon, I understand, I appreciate that. My point is to say, oh, well, the payroll is just cut. It's not as simple as that because it impacts programming.
Can't cut payroll.
Well,
But
It
it's
takes
not
people-
a
it
cut.
takes-
It's in it. You're lowering the increase.
What does that mean?
I mean, we're not raising it 132,569. I'm saying only raise it 70.
And but where are you taking the money from?
Wherever you plan to spend that 70 is now gone. I guarantee we'll figure it out.
No.
It's our
Where
job
is,
to-
where,
to- to
but
reflect-
where? What is the $70,000? What is it?
That's all payroll.
Is it people?
Well, I don't think so. I don't know that we've increased people. I'd have to
Well,
go back
Marty,
and look at another.
personally, I think Sharon made a solid point in that if we're going to provide these services to non-resident participants, maybe we should consider not offering these services at all. Is that correct, Sharon? Did I hear you say that?
Marty's saying cut this. I personally am fine. I personally am perfectly fine with this because I think that's a benefit of living in Ocean Pines, and I want to see the recreation facilities available to all of our residents. Marty is not. He said he's against it. So I'm listening to what he has to say. I says, what do you want it to be? He said 400,000. I said, what do you want to cut to get it to 400,000? Do you cut the concerts in the park? Do you cut the fireworks? His comment was fire people or get the
I didn't
payroll
say
lower.
fire people.
Well-
you're paying 132,568 more.
So do we not offer these?
And by the way, we only have one more employee in the last 3
So
years.
do we not offer these programs to anyone outside of Ocean Pine, which lessens the amount of
I would certainly,
people.
I've been before that day one. I mean, you gotta remember, I'm Mr. Anti-Free Space. Dr. No.
I know that. And in all fairness to Marty, Tom Perry brought it up. He was the guy that said that this budget is really starting to roll. Am I correct?
No, I did.
Yeah, right.
Way to go, me. Well, I'm sorry, folks.
No, you're right. No,
If
you're
there's
absolutely
something in
right.
the middle of the table, like, no, it's just the way it is. The answer is, what are you?
We will cut nothing. We will just, go down. Wheels on the bus go round and round.
But we're partially blaming some of this on the fact that we offer these services to a lot of out of Ocean Pines people.
Correct.
If the county's not going to pitch in to do that, but yet we're helping Worcester County in its overall appearance to the outside that says we offer this, and this.
Desirability of living here.
Yeah, so if we're not going to be reimbursed for that, then we can't offer it to anybody outside of Ocean.
By the way, fireworks is
13.
you got $1,100 revenue. I don't know what that comes from.
Passing that.
Sponsor.
If it was passing that,
Not totally agreeing with my friend Jeffrey. We are going through an election cycle, county level, and it's going to change. And I think it's going to change. There's going to be 3 new personalities. 2 of them from this area. Yes, 2 of them from
The
this
same
area.
amount of money.
2 of them from this area, and there's a possibility that we may be able to shed some new light on this with those individuals. Now I understand what Jeff is saying, but at the same time, there are certain pressure groups that can go to that commission and get things done. They can get 2% increases.
Oh, boy.
They can get 2%.
We got
So if they can,
6%
we're talking about nickels and dimes here. We're talking about what,
right.
30, 40, 50,000 now?
Right. So we don't want to gamble.
We're not talking
So we don't
about
want to gamble on the money from the casinos for our roads project. We're willing to gamble on
It's not a
the
gamble.
county.
It's not a gamble.
It's not a gamble going to the county and asking for money.
Absolutely not.
Oh, I disagree.
Well, I don't care whether you disagree or not.
You're going to get the 450.
Now let's define a term for the law. I'm not saying that there is any budget cuts in this. I haven't talked about a budget cut yet.
Well, neither
What
I.
I am saying is that it's common knowledge around this board that you can't get any money out of the county. And I'm saying that the environment is changing, and I'm saying that we should take a run, try and get more money out of the county.
No, and I'm not.
That's what I said.
I know, but I'm not disagreeing with you because we said the same thing last year and proved that point to be true.
We got 59,000.
Because you got 59,000
Yeah,
or more.
59,000.
It worked. But their pot only has X amount of dollars in it too.
Yes, we did. It's 400 here.
We had
459 this year.
So, I mean,
All right,
That
the
was
bottom
what we
line,
asked for.
the bottom line here is, I think my personal opinion, this budget is what it is. Unless somebody wants to not do fireworks and do concerts in the park, which is about, what, $23,000 out of an 8-6 expense. The only real solution in my mind is it is quantifying how much of this use is from outside. But the real question also becomes, back in my days of corporate America, when we had a training class, we also invited teachers to attend the class. It cost us nothing to have somebody attend that class that was a teacher. We were going to hold the class anyway. So, and in many ways, that's the way these programs are. If we're going to have the program, literally every dollar that comes in through the North Gate or the South Gate, paying a due or a fee to use it, is income to us we wouldn't have had. So the question becomes, and it was the big reason I asked the question, it was simply, have we looked at all of these programs, they all appear to have a certain level of attendance. They all appear to have a group of people who like them. And as I said to you over lunch, every single amenity we've got, down to classes, you know, they all have their one group that focuses in on loving tennis or loving swimming or loving golf, loving whatever. Parks and Recs, while not being a, quote, profit center, suffers from the same situation. There are groups of people that are our members who want these programs, and I simply raised the issue because I did see this programmatically growing and growing and growing. And I think this, in all due respect, I think this is a message we can take to the county, especially this year. And there better be at least two people paying attention to what we're saying, because they're running to get elected.
Right.
And I'm not naming names on either side, but there's two seats to fill, and there's two parties trying to fill it. And they better be coming up with some solutions to help, because this is where we do the most good in many ways for the rest of the county. This is in my mind, this is the lead argument.
Correct.
Now, if they want to funnel money in through somewhere else, left hand, right hand, I don't care. I'm fine with that. But anyway, go ahead, Jim.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained is a decent strategy. So I don't interpret my earlier comments as we shouldn't do it. It's inevitable. But it is always nice to kind of recognize what rules of the game are. Right? Rules of the game are. They don't care. And I don't know how to make them care.
And our two guys, we're going to be elected county commissioners for Ocean Pines, are 2 against 7. Ocean City, if they learned anything from Louise, it's give Ocean Pines 0 and then send them a bill.
No, less than 0.
Send them a bill for 0. I want to make one more comment before we leave this. There's one thing we do have control of. You know, we can talk about counties, we can talk about grants, we can talk about Sugar Plum Ferry. Our payroll in this department in 2 years has increased $53,607. Plus, we've taken $13,235 platform tennis out of the cost. I mean, out of payroll. I'm sorry, we've taken 11. We've taken 4,000 platform tennis out. Yeah, we have it's over here on tennis, and it was over here before in Parks and Rec, wasn't it? Forget the $4,000. You can have it. I want the 52. That's a big chunk of money to be increasing any department in this economy, and especially one that is very, very focused on the people who use it. Very small numbers.
Department?
I don't agree with that.
I would not agree with that at all.
I think if you take out the people that live in Snow Hill, Berlin, Bishopville, and Sylviaville, it's a small number.
I disagree with that.
Between the Conscience Park and all
How
the
many
fireworks and all.
How many people sit
in
at
the
how many-
Conscience Park?
Never. And that's
How
40
many
years
years
ago. Well, because of, how many people go?
Hundreds.
Yeah,
How many people attend a concert?
Hundreds.
I mean,
Every
give me a
concert.
number. 500? Is it 500 people?
300 to 400.
Let's say it's 500. Divided by 2, that's your voting membership. Boy, that's a huge percentage of our membership. Huge.
I will restate.
Wait.
I'm saying you got to stop focusing on $52,000 payroll increases in a department that services a small percentage of the membership.
This service is
Does not.
Yes, it does.
Each concert is different. I won't go to a band, but I'll go to a rock.
It's not just the
they have
concerts. Oh my
Oh, yeah, they
gosh.
got Oompa Problem, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad we solved that one.
Can I ask?
Sure.
I don't want to play. Can we rent the fields? If the county comes to us and they need a field, we rent them. Can we rent our fields to them? Do we charge?
I heard
Charge
you.
them a fee? Would the county ever come to us and say, our record parks?
Waiting. I tried to answer.
Try
I can answer. He's trying. He's trying hard.
Let's move on. Come on.
I don't want to.
Quiet,
Keep
Jack.
up, Thompson. Come on. Come on. Keep up. What are you doing?
I told you should have.
No is the answer. Here's the reason I'm going to say no. We're using the capacity. We don't have fields. Example, the three baseball or softball, baseball fields out here at Shout. They have no reason to use our field.
Okay.
The soccer fields we have are for small kids because we just don't have the size. So at this point, I'm saying no.
No, okay, it's not a deal. Boat ramp. Boat ramp is in here in this budget.
Yeah.
Have we ever thought? I know you have. George and Trey. Oh, gee.
You're genius. See here. Oh, and you opened up a can of
I'm
worms.
sorry.
I have never considered charging us. I've never heard that. Would you explain?
Let me help.
Oh, yeah.
I've ever.
Parking fee or launch fee?
I love it with that. Okay. Here's the deal. And first of all, there was this argument, we have all these non-members using our, so we actually paid for someone to be out there with clipboard, checking license plates and all that. It was a less than 5% or something. A very, very small number of board members. So, we don't have a parking problem with non-members using our
True.
parking. Now you get to, do you want to charge them to use the ramp? Well, yeah, I know there are places that charge $5 in, $5 out. That has been looked at before. Has not been voted up. Yes. I mean, we can't, but got to get you up to speed. That's where we are. There are folks who are very supportive.
It could be a new revenue stream.
Marty is very supportive of that. As far as charging because the trailers don't belong to them. So that to me, it's kind of like having, you're paying for a slip, you're paying to use I don't know how much money is there. To me, it's kind of crazy. It was on existing.
It's actually a great idea. If you're renting a slip from us, you get a free pass
To use the.
All others pay.
To answer your question, yes, but
It's not in this budget. I can tell you budget finance committee might have got today because Gene brought it up.
Yeah.
Let me answer this.
And he was voted against.
so that's why.
He's home screening his.
Anything else?
I
All right, racket sports. I'm sorry.
excuse me, before we get,
Anything with a capital?
yeah, I was going to say, can we get to the Capitol? We're okay on everything here.
Are we good?
Page 5.
I'm on 5. I was waiting.
I am going on the record as saying, as the liaison to the Park and Recs, please can we approve lights for the fields this year so that they can restore having nighttime activities at that field, using that field.
I personally,
Did we do the score sign last year?
Well, here was the problem with last year. Really, the scoreboard, the batting cage, and the lights really should have all been done all together. But we were so thrown back by that huge number of $135,000 that we all just kind of or 175. I'm sorry. We all just kind of took the lights out. So it really didn't help to have the other two items. We need to finish that project this year so she can start having games.
I have 2 questions about 2 items that are not in this CIP. One being, of course, the White Horse Park restaurant, sort of nowhere in here, and the Southgate on Trail. Personally, I'm opposed to it. Let me ask a question. And I don't want to hear all the negatives about porta potties. I just want to answer the question. We currently rent at least 4 that I'm familiar with. Don't we? It's a porta potty. How many porta potties do we have? Marina,
Parks.
Pond out here. What about
Fortified's probably right off the top
How
of your
much do
head.
they?
Yeah.
About $100 a month. make some very nice, I mean, very nice ones. To see at weddings and outdoor occasions. That you could rent probably for the rest of our lifetimes. We spent $5,000.
I'm not in favor.
Can I let the record show that that is a male making that?
That's, I was going
As
to say, you
opposed
got
to
two
a
females
female.
on here, we will both absolutely say never. Compared to a real, like, bathroom or
Okay, I'm just.
This is a woman in a van talking.
$135,000. If it was in this document,
All right, let's take them one at a time. We got two on the table. White Horse Park, restrooms first.
nowhere.
I think I heard the explanation of the budget, but just, what are we looking at? What are we talking about? Refresh my memory.
You gotta help
Get
me,
me.
I don't have anything to do with what you're talking
Well, I think
The
that
restrooms at White Horse Park.
Okay, the restrooms, for those who don't know or may not know, are right there in the center, have kind of the top. You stand out, you see the shingles are in
Yes.
disrepair, you can see the top was starting to rot away. That kind of gives you a pretty good idea of take that same all the way down. So we recognize we're going to have to replace, remodel, those facilities. A number of years ago, the 10-year task force actually had made that recommendation and did some work to come up with, replacing male and female latrines. We just went back and revisited that, knowing that was something that needed attention, and we put it in here, and we put one sample in here of what they potentially look like, and that's where Tom Hewlett ran. That's along the lines of what you see at a park or recreation facility for an outside bath. With all the use at White Horse Park area, concerts in the park, all the things we do have updated latrines, I think, was an important fact.
Are they currently ADA compliant?
My guess would be no, but I can't tell you definitively.
Yeah, I don't think.
Yeah, they were built some time ago.
Sure.
If I'm correct, excuse me.
Right.
If I'm correct, that building where they're currently located was back to the campground days of Michigan.
Yes.
Right.
And there, right now, we're using the front part of the crafts building.
Correct.
So if this building, what you're saying, the entire building would disappear, would the craft building be gone? Place? Are we talking, what are we talking about? I
That's
think this is something that city would.
well, that's a policy decision that's going to come to the board level if we get to the point where we're replacing that. I recognize the infrastructure of the bathrooms needs attention one way or the other. We believe that constructing new ones as opposed to trying to patch that up is in the long-term best interest with the amount of work that would have to be. Policy decision is going to be with the Pioneer Craft Club there, and I'm not even remotely chiming in on that one. I'm recognizing that the infrastructure needs some.
You, or maybe you don't know yet. Do you want to keep the buildings of the latrine, as you call them, in the same location or in a different location?
There's been the 10-year task force looked at it. We actually went and kind of took an eye at it. You could. That building's not very attractive where
No,
it sits.
it's in a bad location,
And
too.
right in front of
Traffic
it with the sign that's out there that directs. We could see that all coming down, creating a nicer space out in front of all our facilities, and then doing something. You're standing at the admin building left side. We actually have an access road that goes there, putting them back off there so they're not center stage.
The left side or the right? I'm sorry.
To the, if you're sitting with your backs to the admin building,
Oh,
you're
the
looking
back
up
to
the
the
hill.
admin
Yeah, you're looking up the
building.
hill.
So
for
it's
the,
as you're going in
left.
on your right side.
correct.
Okay, that's a logical.
I mean, that makes sense to us. It pulls the bathroom out of the center
And
stage.
close where all the activities are because
Correct.
of the concerts and craft shows.
That's correct.
To address the gorilla. We have now built these beautiful new bathrooms and torn down buildings. What are you going to do with rats? Build them in the facility?
Well, no,
That's what
I said that's a policy issue.
Well,
that
you
we-
can't do one without the other, can you? How do you make a decision about one without the other?
Well, Made you good, that's a good point. Okay, yes, John.
Number 13, budget says, only those funds needed for comprehensive planning and design, including needs assessment, in 2014-2015 budget, and the construction funds in the fiscal year 15-16 budget, which is presented. I think that's pretty important.
This is replacement, right?
This is replacement reserve, it's not, but it doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference, John. I think that it has to be done that way. They have to be a plan and design fund. It has to be approved by where they're sitting at that. But it doesn't affect the bottom line. It's
What? Wait a minute. Suppose, just suppose, that this study's done and a needs analysis says, no, you
We don't spend.
You don't spend?
so you end up $500,000 in I'm sorry, what's your number?
135.
$135,000 in earmark funds, construction, bad.
Stay in the back.
it just
For
stays in
replacement
place
fund.
reserve.
It stays in the back.
And there's no possibility of those funds being reallocated.
Whatever, 4 board members.
I mean, that's always possible. We've never done it. The only time we did this year, and I've said it 3 months ago, and I'm going to say it, part because the infrastructure for hardware for our technologies in the spot it's in, we're going to do a swap there, but only with board approval. Board certainly can say no. We don't typically do it. These bathrooms need to replace, whether it's this year or next, they need it. So we put it in there recognizing the need.
But there is there going to be a comprehensive study done to determine or do a needs analysis? Or are we just going to go ahead and let it come? That's the question. Are we going to go forward with the project?
It wasn't my intent to assign someone to calculate the use of the bath. Wasn't my intent, you say needs analysis, we don't have meters on it, we don't have any of those measuring. So no, there's no intent on it. We were going to go and get a further determination of the condition of the building, get some ideas from the clubs that use it, talk to you guys about Pioneer Craft Club. What's our policy look at on that? There's a lot of factors that will go into before we start any of it. But that's all part of the discussion.
And a design. I mean,
And
you
a
have to have
design,
a
if we're
design. Yeah.
put in here as a standard for like a bathroom in a park somewhere, we may say no, or we may say replace it where it is with the Pioneer Craft Club out front. Maybe just tear everything, gut it completely.
But the
put a
condition
new
of
roof
the
on.
condition of the building is
Correct.
If you let it go any further, it's going to close.
And if I'm not mistaken, the front where the Pioneer Craft Club now is, bathrooms where the bathrooms when it was a park, and then front where the Pioneer Craft Club is where the washer and dryers are. So that gives you an idea of how long that facility is, 40 plus years there.
Yeah, but I can still do that.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't know how we can approve the half of the fix. I mean, you're not going to just fix the bathrooms. You're going to have to say, we're closing the Pines Crafters, giving them space elsewhere, or, God forbid, building them a new building to offset the high dollar rent income you get. Can't just do the bathrooms. What we're doing is we're chipping away at this thing so that we can separate it out and we don't have to address what's going to be a very angry group of ladies who are at the Pines Crafter.
Well, I think what we do with the Pines Craft Club is a policy. That's not a management decision. That's a policy.
Let's make a policy decision, guys. We're
Why
talking
does
about
it have to be a negative? They may want someplace nicer to be than in front of those bathrooms.
They may. We could rent that space today. A lot of money to do it.
I'm not worried about that. They need a place. We all recognize they need a place. They're an integral part of Ocean
I need a
Hines.
place. Can you get me a place?
No.
I mean,
Yes, I'll get you a place.
You aren't gonna like it, but she'll get you one.
All right, look,
I'm glad she's going back.
bottom line is I mean, I understand the philosophy that says, look, if you're going to look at these restrooms, then we policy wise, but I think it's a matter of us deciding as a board, do we want to put 135 in this budget, replacement dollars, with the understanding that there's no go-ahead to go break ground to do anything. And without question, we've got to answer the Pioneer Crafter question before we let anything. I mean, that's just all there is to it. You can't just do half a building.
And talk to Pioneer.
And talk to
about
Pioneer.
it.
Back to what I said, since it wasn't in the CIP, not next year, not this year.
Well, but let me ask you, you keep bringing that up. The CIP you have in your hand is a draft that was handed out to the board back in November. If there's anything you see we didn't add, I've said all along, it's a living document. When we identify things that are missing, we add them to it. So whether it was in there or not, to me, isn't relevant.
He's right.
I'm right. I've been saying, what are we
You're
going to do
right.
on this?
It's not in
But
there.
how do we plan a budget? We've got this thing floating around, just grabbing stars out
Yeah,
of
but
the air.
see, it's not grabbing stars. If it wasn't in there, Mark, it doesn't mean I don't recognize it, do something with it. We recognize that we didn't include it, so we've adjusted, put it in the budget. I mean, I think that's right. The police station's an example. We have it for 16. We recognize next year, or this coming budget year we're deliberating on, made sense to do. No other real major capital projects. That is definitely there. This seemed like a reasonable time, given that, time to design everything else, to put it in there. I mean, that's why it's a living document.
The reason I might question some of the entries on it is you've also got right next to that police station a community fitness center.
And some of those are pulled out of the 10-year task force when they did it.
Okay. Restroom idea at this point. Is there any, because the realities are, you could end up rebuilding the restrooms over by the admin building and leave the Pioneer people where they are. You just close the restroom. You could just build new restrooms. The assumption that you have to tear down where they are simply because you're redoing the restrooms may not be the case at all. You may redo the restroom and just leave them where they are.
But based on, if I may,
Okay.
am I out of line?
No.
That's based on what Bob said, buildings.
Yeah, but remember what
Let's
I
find
said.
out.
We could get in there and find, well, let's keep the frame, the concrete on the building, the walls, perimeter. Let's work with that. Let's tear the roof, the front, and let's redo that there. I mean, that's what we'll have to make a decision on moving forward. We'll get a full analysis of the exact condition of it, and then we know it's
Jerry could do, Mike, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Not in-house.
We'll get help. I mean, we got the Bill Racos out there, as Marty talked about earlier. I mean, we're going to utilize that type of help for a project like this. It's an ideal thing to turn some of our intern folks on that can really help us with.
You want to revisit this issue of
I'd rather, we never revisit it, but I'd rather revisit it than keep it in this budget. Please add that in next graph. See.
Wait till you see what I had next time.
I'm perfectly fine with that, saying it.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Okay, so next thing I heard was Southgate Pond.
South
Trail.
Southgate Pond Trail,
Got it.
$126,000.
Yeah, in reading this, and tell me if I'm right or wrong, Bob, it costs $4,000 a year in order to keep that
Stone dust.
stone trail in shape. Is that right, $4,000?
That's it.
If I do the math, and again, this is the bank stuff, it's going to take us 31 years to get there. By 4,000 and 126, is it? 126,000. That's a 31. So from a fiscal point of view, it doesn't make any sense. From a regulatory point really, really scares me is that in terms of fairness, the legislature in Annapolis is going to say, why are certain counties paying rain tax and other counties aren't? And the next thing you know, it comes back to us. We got to account for a lot of impervious surfaces. I think we got to be very careful with this, and this also plays into the parking lot. So I really have a problem with parking lot for those reasons. Not that it isn't a good idea, but for those reasons.
No, that's fine. Let me give you kind of some counterpoints. If you travel on the side of, if you travel that walkway all the way around,
Which I did.
okay, and I do all the time, so I'm very familiar. Okay, we've got a couple of things. We have our Veterans Memorial out there. Okay. If nothing else, it lends itself very, very well if we did a nice concrete or pavement or stamped pavement, number of things you can do along that front for those in wheelchairs, those handicapped, get access to that area. Okay, that's one. Secondly, the further south you travel on that thing, on the path, if you notice, every time we have a rainfall, every time we have a condition, it washes out that trail. And if you'll notice, there's a lot of those dips. And then when you travel, if you continue southward, you hook a left, you go down through the wood, it's the same thing. It all continues to deteriorate and fall out. The problem with the stone dust, it's a very short-term fix, and we have to do it on occasion. So it's not just dollars and cents for me. It's aesthetics, it's use, it's also safe folks using that trail system. And that particular area around there where the water washes out from 589 towards that pond area, the amount of water flow, there's a lot of ruts that just get created because of that. We've tried to put like PVC piping in to hopefully relieve some of that. It just still washes right across that, washes it out, creates these valleys, which continue to be a hazard. So there are a number of reasons why we felt that was.
And a couple more.
That's fine.
Being liaison park there is a very concerted effort to make more parks and the trails available to the kids riding bikes. That is one area that they can actually can bike up to it, be brought up to it, be able to bike around it, which is another safety. The wheelchair thing is I think it's big because people in wheelchairs can't access that because of this stuff. That's why you see this.
Disagree. We have wheelchairs there at every ceremony.
I know, but usually a lot of those people are carted with the carts up and then put in their wheelchairs. It's difficult to access in a wheelchair.
For
Very
the ceremonies,
difficult.
we provide transportation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
But
no.
they're there.
Oh, I know they're there.
I'm
but
not
I'm just
thinking ceremony. Just thinking
no, I'm just
stuff.
thinking in general too. It's very difficult to maneuver that trail, especially parts of the trail. Is there a way if you do something with this trail that you can, on the inside of that trail, alleviate some of that runoff going to the ponds? Is there a way to build that trail because realize that that's where all the goose stuff goes into that runoff. One of the problems with geese, So is there a way to do it so that maybe that runoff won't be as much as it is in the trail?
I mean, I'm sure there's a way to look at it. I mean, it's certainly wouldn't. It's going to increase the cost to do it. You're going to try to manage the stormwater or redirect the stormwater.
Yeah.
I mean, we can certainly look at it.
Might be something to consider.
And again, I'm open to look at other options. I mean, we talked about concrete, we talked about pavers, we talked about just the blacktop, the strip just wide enough for like we have some of the other trail areas. We talked about the pavement where you can do it's blacktop, but they actually stamp it specifically in front of the Veterans Memorial to kind of give that same look that Veterans Memorial would have, where you paint it asphalt there. There are a number of things we looked at as options. We're just saying that stone dust continues to breach and the runoff continually.
Well, would you consider just a leave alone as is? Would you consider that?
well, I'm not gonna have a choice if the board says leave it alone. I'm just concerned about the safety issue. That's all. Just where the gullies, and we keep going back to patch it and fix it. I don't have a problem. You know,
31-year payback, Bob.
you
You
can't.
can,
That's one.
you can ride a bike around, but
Are bikes allowed in that town?
yeah, you can ride a bike around.
They don't allow bikes on First Park to hike the path. You allow it around the Veterans Bureau path.
Yeah.
Put it this way, Sharon, I'd have to look with, we've never discouraged it, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I think
A
they
lot of people ride bikes up
Yeah.
there.
White Horse Park was posted, but I don't know about Veterans and
Well, a lot of those
path.
posts are no longer there.
I know, but it's been an issue. I know. Because the bikes,
Actually, I have
people, they do
photographs.
want places to ride. I agree with you. I thought they wanted more natural trails, not paved black.
Well, it's not even that. Yes, they do want more natural trails, and that group is willing to, go in and work and create those trails. But they're also looking at ways, suppose you have kids that are just learning to ride, can't ride those natural trails. Or, an elderly person who wants to ride their bike, bring their bike up and ride around, doesn't ride on, I mean, there are instances, the trail should be available to anybody that wants to utilize the trail. And I think Bob's right. I mean, I walk that trail too sometimes with dogs, and it's
Do we have any other paved trails? I can't think. This would be the only paved trail.
I think they have a trail. Everything we like the stone dust. It's softer. As a runner, I like the stone.
Yeah.
It's softer.
I'm kind of surprised that. Yeah.
Well, but the challenge is, trust me, I look at it from both sides.
Yeah.
Okay, the challenge is, if it's at all dusk or either dawn or dusk, and you can't see you're going to twist an ankle, a knee, a hip. When you go down because of the crevices that are created. We try to stay on top. Don't get me wrong. We go out and do it and fill them. But when we get the heavy rains, it washes it out. It does consistent. So
you also have to remember that environmental group has spent a lot of time and energy, trying to create an educational experience, just like the Veterans Memorial has too. So that area is a little different than just utilizing that trail as a sporting trail. It's really access to a lot of things.
There's no question.
So,
And the thing is, I think naturalness is what I appreciate.
I agree with you.
I am not in favor aesthetically of it being paved.
Right.
But your comment, if there is no other paved path, then maybe this is something for those businesses. There is a path for them to go down. I never thought about that. Thanks for bringing the suggestion, but I personally like the aesthetics of
So
it.
do I.
listen, I love the stone. From a runner, from a guy, it's
drop
perfect. Well, it's not about me.
Well, actually, this maybe because we asked the question, did this idea come from one of our advisory? Did this come from the Park and Rec
No.
Advisory Committee?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of.
No,
So it didn't.
No.
it did not.
And the biking is under Park and Rec. Treks,
Well,
trains.
Trace's group is, they,
What group are they in?
They're on the Parks and Rec.
Parks and
But
Rec.
yeah.
back to a point you made earlier, I still have the original brochure for the trail. Says age no bikes.
Yeah.
And I've got a stack of photographs from when they first started talking about doing the Cross Lake Road stuff out at Bainbridge.
Right.
And I went out and photographed 20 no bike signs. Mysteriously, since I did that, a lot of them had disappeared after I first brought it up. But
But
You want me to bring them to you?
Wait a minute.
I'll bring them by.
Something's going on here.
when those trails were first built, they were built with no bikes, period. Because they didn't want people walking on the trail.
But we also
Get rid of
didn't
them.
know how many thousands of kids lived in there.
Oh, no. Those trails weren't built that long ago, my dear.
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
Are you serious?
What, in Ocean Pines?
Check your.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I won't go there. Okay, here's my question on this one, guys. I'm not To be honest, I'm not leaning in favor of $126,000 out of our money to pave a path that doesn't necessarily need to have done. So, but that's just me.
Second.
You're all wrong. Before you were wrong. 5 of you are wrong. Who else is jumping in?
Who else is wrong? All right, we can revisit this or tell them to take it out.
I say we talk about it again tomorrow like we did all the other ones.
All right, all right. All right.
He does get a vote every once in a
That's
while.
fine.
Hey, can I ask a question? Have we cut one penny? Been here.
No, we're everything that we're cutting, we're table.
No, but I got permission to take you and put you someplace else, which is worth all the money in the world.
I can't think of a place you could lead me that'd be worse.
We'll talk about it. Short.
I want one thing to talk about again, since you all put 10 things to revisit for some reason. I want one I'm talking about.
It's the win one. That's it. All right, now
We
I
are
have
gonna
one.
get
I have a
the
question
tabs
for
by tomorrow.
you. And I am not against getting new mulch. Misunderstanding. When I looked at this estimate for the wood fiber mulch, 50% or a third of the cost is delivery.
Almost 50%.
Almost 50%.
Perfect.
So I'm wondering, is this something we can go pick up and save us money?
This is
Is
something we can
that
create right
option
on
available?
site with Shepherd.
Well, you got those trailers from Bakery. You got
They're
those.
full of stuff. Nice
We
try.
have a dump truck.
I'm just asking.
That's a good question.
Don't know. Again,
I'm not against doing it. It's just I
got you.
just
When you
point
do-
that out.
When we have a budget item like this, we put it in, then we always look at the most cost-effective way to do it. If it needs sending a truck, whoever makes that product, to certainly do it. I don't have any
One,
issue with it.
yeah, one thing you have to remember though is this is a particular product, particular reason that it's being certified by people who certify playground stuff.
Right. I saw that.
It could possibly be something to do with
warranty,
warranty of the.
All right.
I mean, I'm just guessing. I don't know.
It's a legit question.
It's a legitimate question. Right.
I think they're in Queenstown, right? This organization's in Queenstown. I'll do it for half.
Are you
Not if it-
certified? Put it in the
No,
next
not if it knows the warranty.
Doesn't matter. You know, we'll get it done.
But it says
Does
all deliveries
matter.
to one site.
Yeah, it's delivered to one
The
side.
maintenance yard, and then we'll take it
Guys,
and put
we'll
it.
look at it. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid
Yes,
point.
And the bill here for the proposal is also made out of sign. This is a Jerry
The
thing.
son you get to pay. You should tell.
Anyway, this is a Jerry thing. He should go, but looking for.
I believe he has. I believe he has spoken. He has
Well, I'm
spoken.
sure it has, but this is.
I
made
think
out of
that.
sign.
I know.
It's
I think that the guy just knew Sonia's name. But Jerry has had
Yeah,
discussions
I mean,
with this gentleman. Yeah.
If it's the type of mulch we agree that we want to put into our playgrounds, we'll end up getting whoever's got much better now. And however we get it here, we'll get it here.
Anything else? Racket sports. Anybody want to take that? This one's here. Let me ask a question on page 2.
That's what my questions are.
I know that you guys were working hand in hand, Dennis changed the pricing. Some of this, and zero memberships on some of this. Is this post making those adjustments? Raise the price and do some don't get just.
The pricing increases are on.
Okay, all right, so that has been made. Okay, so that was done based on the input from the tennis advisory.
And you sent me an email concerning zero entry.
Yeah, just the
Well,
zero members.
Well, but you put a zero in, so when someone asks, we have family membership, what's the rate? Yes, we're not sure we're attracted. And I'm down at the platform now.
Oh, you're down here, okay. I'm up
So
here.
0, 250, 0. We left it so we can show you what the intent to charge for. We're not sure how many we're going to attract, right?
I
But we
was
left
looking for. They appear to have evolved over time into
A lot of membership.
a lot of individually very, very focused memberships, models that have no one. Associate family member afternoon versus associate individual first time one half. You know, so it's your choice to keep that.
We say our choice.
These are your brothers.
We chose not to swim upstream on this one. This is what the tennis committee had submitted. Felt to deal with it right now, so juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It wasn't worth the fight to say let's consolidate support.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Well, is the, are we going to talk about kickball?
Before we get there, listen.
Whatever you
Are
like.
they realistic numbers?
I think so.
I mean, they look small to me, low to me.
135? No, they're based on facts we have.
Okay.
Don't have any issue.
All right.
Marty?
Page 1.
Yes, sir.
The revenues, now I understand we've got these new memberships in pickleball. Assuming that every single one of them sign up and get the 20,000. That's still a 40% increase over the best I can judge past performance for tennis and platform. So if you make the assumption that tennis history and platform tennis history add $20,000, in order to get to this 124,288, it's $35,000 I can't find. It seems like a big revenue number.
For the pickleball?
For the total. The
Well,
total
net operating,
124,288, no. Total revenue,
If you look at the total
124,288.
revenue to those places that it's coming, is 15,000 grand.
Okay,
And the 20,000 for pickleball, which they weren't paying.
okay.
That's 35 grand.
Okay, but you're showing a revenue for platform tennis of 42,895 and the 5-year average.
That includes the $15,000.
I hear you.
Okay.
You're looking at a 5-year average of 12,038.
So
Add to that 15, you're still way shy.
Well, the membership dues,
Okay.
well, hang on, if we're going to compare
Yeah, let's
apples
walk
to
through
apples,
this.
let's go, all right, we're on platform, right?
Yes.
I'm really looking at this 124,288.
All right, but we got to break the numbers down.
Okay.
All right, since we're talking about platform, all right, at the 42, I would agree, that seems like a high number, but if you go and start to break it down, first thing is the biggest number in comparison is 17,890. Okay, that's your membership number, membership dues. If you go back to the Recs department, you see platform tennis in there. You've got membership numbers of about 13,000.
Right.
Okay, on average,
So you're going 13 to 7.
almost 18. But they feel, and then all right, with that understanding, there's the $5,000 swing there. Okay, but then you start to go up that. They have special events and tournaments they're planning, which drives a lot of revenue, and they believe it's going to drive their membership up. The league fees, and then you go up to the grant of 15. When you start adding all those, that 42 becomes a little more attainable. If you just look at it independently, it seems like it's blue sky, but when you actually start breaking it down, it's not that far off. Okay,
This is one group of people that's really growing.
both that and pickle.
And
Now the
the
pickleball,
import's coming.
the
I think
pickle's
it's
the brand new
possible.
one,
Wait a second.
and they're. Oh, I'm sorry.
When you say it's really growing, let's look at those membership numbers. Platform tennis, 2009, and I'm working my way forward. 12,055, 12,455, 12,780, 12,610, 12,300. That's stagnant to me.
Well, here's my question: Is the growth based on two
No.
reports?
So we're adding people. The whole new group.
Part of it-
We're only talking platform tennis, Sharon. There's no growth.
There's
Zero.
Whoa.
All right. Part of it is having more courts to play on, and part of it's an increase in cost.
Build it and they will come.
Marty, that's not fair. I'm
It's
sorry.
fair.
This group has been working hard to have these courts built. They even worked on getting the grant. So they're very much.
I'm
interested
not
in doing
opposed
this
to
for
the
this
court
group.
share, and I'm opposed to blowing smoke and revenues. We have never done more than $12,000 in revenue memberships for platform tents. Ever. And what are we showing this year?
And we're going to have
13.
So therefore,
17,895.
More courts.
Two more
than
courts.
play.
You're not going to have 2 more courts this year. The end of this budget cycle, baby.
It's approved.
If it's approved, when would they be built?
We'll try to rock on these quick. I mean, they
Can't
want to.
start before May.
Okay.
They don't take that under its
They don't
and
take that
fencing.
long.
It's not a 6 months project. It's to be a month.
Where are we going to build?
Well, that's where the big to-do came in recently was we would like to repurpose tennis courts over at Swim and Rackets. They're courts, and they're underutilized, and we're out of space over at Man to expand where they initially wanted to expand from the court situation. So we're very limited space over at the Manklin area.
Phil Rako's plan, didn't he have a book thing?
And it didn't work.
I've had the pleasure of seeing it.
Well, he presented it to the board the same time I saw it. So,
I didn't see it. Yeah.
okay. So he presented it. And forgive me for...
Because of the wetland regulations. That's the reason.
Yeah, that side where we made the improvement, and that's what I was trying to say up front, but it got a little lost in all the noise. That side where they're proposing to put the additional courts is right where the new drainage had everything flow to it, and it pretty much eliminated drainage issues on the courts we had had. So I can show
The
you.
last
They
drawing I saw had those last 2 paddleball courts going towards the duck, not away from.
I didn't see them. I have a copy of it. It's not
Okay.
next to the dog park. It's next to the ball field.
That's what I said, but it's on that side of the existing.
They have,
Right.
yes, but they have them down that whole back stretch where we did the drainage.
The original.
Again, we're debating on something that I
Okay.
can't argue with you on.
I'm not going to argue either. I just want to know what.
Well, until we know where they're going, I'm not.
Well, so the intent is to get the new courts. They believe from their membership standpoint, they can continue to grow their membership. They're limited court space, right? They fill the courts and people are waiting all the time. They need the space to do it. The only twist I have is the Manklin complex is very, very condensed with water and everything, the drainage and everything, to put the courts where they initially went.
But they've also said clearly that they don't want a Swim and Racket because it's too windy.
And I'm agreeing with Marty that. The other thought, because I met this couple of times, walked this with Rayco. Can't be able to his name, I'm sorry. But
Mike?
could have been Mike.
Scotty?
I don't remember.
I mean,
I'm
you
sorry.
work them all
I
the
just,
time. Okay.
I know it's Bill, but a couple of, I don't remember. But the idea that they like this whole tennis complex because they think of tennis and they interchange this too. So to move one area away to an area that's, in my opinion, I think defeat the concept that I really like is your kids. So is there any other alternative in that area to put these?
Get rid of the ball field.
Well,
And keep going.
Get rid of the ball.
Well, you said, is there another alternative?
Yeah.
I can get rid of the ball field. If I move the courts next to the ball field, they're almost on top of it, which means I can't have 2 activities going on once. Foul balls will be striking the ball at the time. I can put it over near the playground on that side, but we're going to have to cut trees, move the gazebo, and potentially shift the playground closer to the garden, which there's not a whole lot of space to do that. So, yes, we've looked at it rather intensely. If the challenge is we're limited with space. So our alternative was we need to consider other areas. I know may not be ideal, but we need to at least consider it.
They've got on the courts that are currently at Swim and Racket, they actually have them set up for pickleball and they don't use them. They're set up today. They're all taped up. The only activity,
Those those courts are underutilized. I completely agree with you. And that's
I've
part of
never
what
been
we're-
over there. I haven't seen people. Well, of course, last time it was a dog training class. But
We're just trying to maximize the use of space.
here's the problem. If you put them over there, who's going to monitor who paid their dues, didn't pay their dues, climbed over the fence, who had key? I mean, it becomes a nightmare. It becomes what those tennis courts that are there right now. Unmonitored, unsupervised, skateboarding.
Well, the
Dog walking.
other option you have is to do the swipe card with the access, where we have the cards now. As you, we could, for every member, give them the swipe card so they can swipe in the access unlocks the hasp and they walk in.
And then run the kids off the climb over the fence before they got there.
Just telling you, there's ways to work around
Be
it.
your job.
We recognize the need for it. The challenge is management has limited space. That's really where we are. So we're putting it. We're making a recommendation. Could the possibility be that we do a complete reconfiguration down at Mankland? It could be. I'm not telling you it is right now because I know of the drainage issues. I know wetlands issue. I know the playgrounds there. I know all the pieces there. So trying to reasonably put it there is going to be a big challenge. And the gentleman, I'm sorry I don't have his name, the planner that actually drew up the plan.
Yeah, that's.
He gave me a copy of the plan recently because I talked with all the three racket teams. I said, we don't have that plan. He actually brought the plan in. He said, look, I didn't realize the problem we were going to have until we drew it out right here with water. So he recognized it once you drew it out.
But you still have the problem of pickleball not being used to say this one right. I mean, if I've heard the ones I've heard it a hundred times from that, if you build them there, we might as well say, because people are not going to be able to use them.
They have windscreens, which we put up many times in the past. So we would have to buy the windscreens. But that's the alternative. Is it ideal? No, but we're trying to expand the activities. So the other option we have, folks, is to, and again, tennis people come out of, trust me, they weren't club me because I brought it up at the meeting. The courts further north, they're really north, but kind of if you look at the platform and you keep moving it, relining those courts, repainting them and lining them to get through this year to accommodate the other activities. And they did not, they want to tape. The problem is tape doesn't stay down. It's very manpower intensive to keep taping them. Chalking them doesn't. So we looked at painting.
But that doesn't really solve the long-term issue.
It doesn't.
Facet. So I think we've got to take a look at that. Again, I'm just sharing with you my understanding that the platform tennis courts are going to be towards the dog as opposed to being towards.
Ideally,
water.
I'd love to have all the racket activities down there. That's ideally
And
where
I think we ought to find. Yeah, because I don't. I'm not a pickleball player, but I'll sit here and represent. They're not going to use those courts if they're so right. They're just not going to use them.
I think they should.
We need to find some way that they can just have.
Wind, coming, wind and all that. Yeah. I said,
All right. Well, obviously that one's coming up.
I have. Oh,
Yeah, you can't.
I mean, any little wind can catch that thing. Yeah.
Anything else on this one? All right, 10-minute break. Okay, let's get started. Yeah.
But it is expensive. Living proof it. Living proof it. Drugs do work.
Actually,
There you go.
that's what
I'm really not.
You
cut the cord.
I made it look good.
Yeah, I know. I'm just getting that.
Tom, you're under the impression you don't hear what he's got to say.
Yeah, I don't. But someone in the audience said I need to speak. They didn't speak loud.
All right.
Well, they cost $7,000. We ought to use them.
Not that one.
Moving on to, we could just skip aquatics. We don't want that.
Nah, they're not important.
Let's
Yeah,
go
that's
to
why
aquatics.
Tom's been waiting.
Let's go to aquatics.
Should we talk about the
My sense of theme.
marketing introduction they've done? Brand Fleet and all the other things they mentioned. I think they've done a nice job, the periods. I like the concept of the Ocean Pines Swim Academy they're trying to develop. That's great. They also mentioned in here bringing in a coupon for everyone to be able to use them for the swimming activity. Get out, possibly involved in that. Be introduced to the schools and maybe we do something along the lines of or anything else which might possibly. I don't think there's any cost associated with people come.
3 free passes for the indoor pool.
Something. I'm
Something,
just
just-
saying something.
To use it, you might like it.
Well, how you two guys, the synergy between you two people.
We are bonding.
Is there any-
We're bonding at this
Ah,
end,
that's
okay?
that's my mind.
Jeff, is it important? Would you stop the sign?
Now you know why I kept the marks.
I don't have one big enough.
Let me ask a clarifying question though. There's an assumption, you have to staff the place depending on its potential, right? Not who's actually there,
We have to staff it based on capacity.
Yeah,
regardless of how many are actually.
right.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask a question now?
Sure.
A typical, okay, I may have done this wrong. Art will be all over me in a second. If you look at our October controllers report, the only pool that's open is the indoor pool. The indoor pool is open less than 400 hours, according to the schedule this year. Use 400 hours and divide that into the payroll for the pool in October, which was $21,571.
Total payroll.
What?
Payroll costs.
Yeah, it's whatever's in the
I'm
control.
not looking. Yeah.
And you end up with $54 an hour. That's a hell of a lot of lifeguards in money.
Well, it's not just. Isn't
It's probably varied.
isn't Tom's
Oh,
salary?
Yeah, Tom being there.
The department director.
Facility coordinator. Protect.
Okay. Still doesn't, it's just tough to make
Payroll
it add up.
costs and training costs.
He's sure.
No, that's all listed. Yeah. That's a subtotal. It's all there.
Is that a budget? Is that a?
It's October.
He's doing the October. He's using the October.
Here's Mike. One of the two things, one of them I think I sent in advance. And actually, this is taken from that Marcus backyard. But the idea of buying propane on the open market and sinking a tank of propane, leasing or something for the heating purposes of that pool, short, as opposed to buying the same type of no they can't. It's not going to happen. But my understanding is that the market today, propane, even though there's a shortage now, of the sun,
There is no.
there is no shortage. That's the question. The question was: is there any real two things having to do with the pool? Is there any advantage of sinking our own tank, not buying or? And secondly, is there any advantage, or another way of thinking it wasn't this covered pool going to be closed most this book's budget here there in the summer for a long period of time? I understood.
I thought it was a month.
I thought it was like a month. It was going to be closed anyway.
You can just do decking and the coping
Yeah.
and all that.
Is that in? That's in here.
Yeah, the August time when it's usually
So it's
down.
all of
I
August.
think so. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So I guess the question, and I think the question of, stuff. Is there any real savings worth paying any attention to? That pool wasn't in the summertime.
No, because a lot of people don't want to be in the direct sunlight. You know, top, so they open the doors, people like to use it. The cost to operate them relatively inexpensive. Summertime.
Yes,
That's not, it's the wintertime, it's killing us.
But the question I think is very valid about sinking tanks. I think it's a very valid question. Have you done it now?
No,
Possible.
it's just, no.
Along those same lines, heard this talking about. Do we do any tracking as to how many people utilize that pool, when they utilize it? We
Yes.
do tracking. Okay, what are the numbers? June, July, and August. Do we know?
We do. I don't have them right here with me. Do track.
Okay, when we come back, could you have those numbers so we can look at the numbers of people that are utilizing that pool? Is that too
Are
much?
you asking for tomorrow?
Is that okay?
You can ask for it. I'm not sure I can have it. We can check. It depends on what time we get out of here. I'm not trying to be smart about it. I don't want. It's not something I have directly on the system. I have to get that, which means I'm going to have to either get it from membership or Tom Perry's group. Depending on what time we get out of here, I can certainly try to request it to have it. Or if not, I can have it by the board.
The board meeting is when we're going to vote on the budget.
No.
No. I just need real. If
Okay.
I'm here with you
I
guys,
can
I
deal with
can't
that.
get
I can deal.
documentation.
No, I can deal with it. I'd rather have it tomorrow because I think Mr. Terry's point is valid, which may be unusual, but it is. And Sharon, I have a question to Sharon. Who put this plan together?
I'm assuming that Tom Perry did this.
Did you do this?
It's coordinated out.
By who?
Myself, Tom Perry, Teresa.
Well done.
Yes, it is.
I mean, really well done. The only question I would have is, who puts it in, who creates the action plan behind this? Perry? Who's the guy that puts this into action? This is a good plan, it's great ideas.
It's a
Who makes it
combination.
happen?
Again, it's a combination. Myself, Tom, the action.
Now, just to clarify one thing, Jack, on the plan, I said they really meant, I'm clear, was that a free session class, high back. So there may be two issues. I've said free swim day, but what they're saying is plan, free one-time class or session.
Yeah, and I would opt for the free pass to rather than the sessions, because those sessions are not even. I've tried.
Even Paris says that.
I've tried a million times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just want to clarify
Yeah,
that I was
yeah,
not
yeah.
reading
Could
this
you read
properly.
page 2?
Yeah.
Territorial?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Everybody saw this?
You're moving it too
What
fast.
is it? I haven't seen it.
It's the
Okay,
email
pass
the
it around.
director.
Everybody got it. Pass it around. I sent the copy, reported it to what's his name over there? And basically, $75,000 for new furniture. This guy's saying he can rehab the furniture for X. So that knocks approximately $30-some thousand, $7,000 cap expenditure. Question is, I don't know if that's the best way to go or not, but is that something if we look into?
We get advertising for this type of stuff all the time. Sometimes we look at them, sometimes we don't.
Have we asked this guy what he could do?
I haven't spoken to this guy directly. No, nor do I. Just because someone blasts an email to directors doesn't necessarily take action. I get them all day long from all different. For advertising, you guys get them. You get only a portion of what I see that comes across the email offering anything for sale. This is just someone trying to sell us.
Well, is it worth a look-see?
The answer, the only answer I can give you that you're going to accept is yes, so yes.
If
I say, I know the answer. How can you ask me that?
Wait a minute.
How can you ask
be that close. That's a
No,
fair, that's a fair assessment.
No, it's not. I refuse. Of course it's worth
Look,
everything.
I mean, the bottom line is, I mean, you're the guy who is, you said, you're ultimately going to put this, you and Tom are going to put this daggone thing in motion. And I'm just saying, I want you to be successful. I really do. I want you to be successful in a conference. So I'm saying, if we're going to measure your performance by dollars and cents, if this makes sense to you and save you some bucks and does the same daggone good job, that's where I'm coming at it from a positive point of view, not you haven't done your job.
I understand.
Okay.
We
So
look at
don't
these
say
things.
you have to agree with me, because you're going to do what you're going to do anyway, right?
Not quite.
Oh,
Not quite there.
I wish, but not quite.
Okay, I'm going to jump
We
to,
will look at it.
okay, thanks.
Before you leave the flag,
I'm not leaving it
Oh,
quiet,
no,
I'm going to the
we're
capital page.
on the numbers now.
I'm going to the capital page where it appears to be a duplication. Now, I guess we got to decide whether we do a baby pool, zero entrance, or a splash pad.
Right.
Either way, we're saving $175,000 or $30,000 out of this one of the two. Is that a fair assessment?
I agree.
As I understand it, this 175, Sharon.
Can I speak?
Yeah,
to this?
as I'm
Okay, all
calling
right.
on you at this
My,
point.
this is my committee twice. They just had a meeting last, they had a presentation of the splash pad. I'm sure you informed about this stuff. And this is just one of, I'm sure you're going to get multiple bids. I saw the design, and it stay within, I'm talking to Swimming Rapids. And because Mumford's Pool, we already have it, that's going to be made zero entry. So, this season. The splash pad is keeping in the same existing footprint where the fence is at the Swim and Racket Club. Does everyone follow me? So we're not changing
Where the baby pool is.
where the baby
Right.
pool is. We're taking the baby pool out, leaving that little umbrella that's there, that mushroom, that the children come, that will still stay there, be refurbished a little bit, but and have the Ocean Pines logo, that will still stay there. The rest will be on a rubberized, I'm going to say like a mat this thick, that so the kids can run and play but not slip and fall and hurt themselves. A little tiny little squirt, little fountain type things. The number that was given to us as a guesstimate, not a firm concrete number, was probably close to 40 to 50,000. Now that's not counting the new ramps that have to go in there to make an ADA requirement and anything else that might have to be done by works. So my comment is this: we have 175,000 in here to convert to the splash pad. I think that number is high, probably at least 100,000. I think 75 from this one gentleman's numbers, and he was all inclusive with permits and everything. I thought, Bob, just do this.
Who'd you pick?
This, I don't have the paper.
Yeah, I never, just because someone comes in low.
No. I know. I'm not saying this is just
Okay.
one. This is just one, and that's why I'm bumping it up because, and maybe I'm wrong with that number, but this is his number was between 40 and 50. And I'm giving room for us to do what we need to do, our public piece. So what I'm saying is, I think that number, the 175, is too high. Now, the one thing he did mention is he's done several of the splash pads here. We're going to we can design about 900 square feet of splash pads for children, and he says that will be the largest one in the building. He says it's a very, very nice unit, probably not have to expand that to service our needs. We were talking about doing it in stages, maybe put in big enough pipes that we could do what we need to, and then maybe bump out the fence and make it bigger for the future. He says that's a very, very generous splash pad compared to other areas. Now, that's just one down.
Yeah, that,
Yeah. Yeah. It was less than that, but I'm bumping it a little bit more. And it wasn't, I didn't see it in writing. He quoted that. He says it'll be 38, 40. I'm thinking 50. So, and then doing what we have to do. And this is one estimate, so there's going to be other estimates. But what I'm saying is I think that number, 75, is too high. We certainly don't. 38 and 75.
void maintenance is the key. So while he may be able, and I believe he said 50, it could be, again, it depends on what level of pump you want, so I don't know that I would change the 175. The question for us tonight is, do we want to move forward with the splash, keeping a baby pool, one Mumfords, and a splash pad approach for swim bracket, and getting rid of the zero entry? That's the first question. And I can, products committee is for the splash pad.
Absolutely.
Aaron,
Absolutely.
and I think this, plus, does not the splash pad save us? We don't have to have it, right?
The personnel.
Yes. You don't need a lifeguard there.
So you save the lifeguard price, you add a new amenity for maybe a little more money than doing a zero entry, but end up with a whole brand new amenity for the kids.
Did anybody see Bayside advertised their commercial yesterday? What did they show? Their splash pad, Bayside, right? I think it'll be a huge, huge draw.
So the real question that I think first on the table is, obviously I'm showing my cards here. I think the splash pad is the right direction to go. Already got zero entry baby pool. You save the splash pad, but the price of the lifeguard time saves you time on just not having to have that person. Anyway, that's where I am. So let me put it another way. Do we remove the zero entry at the swimming rack from this budget and save?
Yes.
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 God, we actually got something.
Yes,
Get
we
me a cocktail.
There you go.
Southern.
You thought it was never going to happen.
We're done.
Thought it was never going to happen. All right.
Amazing.
Is that what?
But wait,
Is that what you call that?
Spell is amazing.
if we're doing it at Bumpers Landing, is that not a site over there? Where's the Bumpers Landing?
That's
this
current
Oh,
budget.
it's already
Current
This current
current budget.
That's this current year, so we'll have a baby pool
All right.
next season. No, not baby. Any other issues with aquatics? I really didn't have anything beyond that.
Yeah, there was at this point of information, there was a lot of discussion on the internet 365 about water in a pool and a cracked pool and what have you. And I think we were talking about Mumford's Landing pool or something like that. Is in fact Mumford's Landing cracked? No, if it is cracked or is we're still investigating what?
We're aware there's a leak at the pool.
It is cracked.
When we do the zero entry, we're also looking at what we do to correct that issue.
That is in this year's budget. And time flies. So get an RFP out on that?
We're working on it.
Okay.
Yep. Jerry's been working that issue.
I mean, I did see people.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, we're going to do golf, and then we're going to go home. Unless somebody wants to play the stay.
Get her done.
Open the bar, I'll stay.
Yeah, open the bar up. Okay. Okay.
You know, in golf, zoo, any, they were events.
Golf,
Zoo, ZOO. I know that's what they use in River Run.
not legal work.
I assure you, they use rentals for golf, zoo. I work,
Just that they also own Camp Golf.
so I just
Don't
didn't
they?
know.
We don't currently use golf. We have in the past. We don't.
Okay, I didn't know if there was a reason we wouldn't, is there a conflict? Is there another source we can reach out to? That's all. This question.
But I'm sure they're booking whoever they feel that they.
Okay. Didn't we talk earlier about keeping the existing membership golfers and grandfathers? I like that idea.
Excuse me.
Terry, you're doing
Terry.
good. But Marty, you free?
Was that decided on, or was that tabled till tomorrow?
Oh my God, here he goes.
That's under action.
That's
decided
action
on.
Just one for
That is settled. But
Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yes.
I'm done with that. I'm not revisiting that. I don't know where to start when it comes to this. It's such a phenomenal recovery.
70% improvement
And
over the 5-year average.
What are we going to do about it?
well, yeah, that's why I'm going. You want me to, it's go and do the best you can. It's,
We really can't do anything about it. See what happens.
I do have one question. Food.
oh,
The food currently, as we speak today, so this has been going through our yacht. Now, is this giving food operations back to Casper for the Turns Grill starting in March? Is that what we want to do? Or is that the contract to do?
That's what we decided when we changed over from Casper to us. We said in March, we'll flip it back over to you.
well, question becomes, this is your fault, but operationally, are we better off having people that work in turns directly for Ocean Pines and under the auspices of David? Or are we better off letting go back to Casper and directed by Casper?
For the upcoming,
And I'm referring mostly, in many ways, to the room we're sitting in. So, yeah.
well, there's two parts to that. I
Yes, sir.
think when we turn that, I think when we throw the switch back, it stays with Casper. They have this facility. They operate this facility. I think that's a good arrangement for tracking purposes. The ability moving forward to see how the performance is. Are you all leaning towards something different?
Well, no, I just know one of the golf tournaments that's going to be done here is going to be golf tournament here at Yacht Dinner banquet.
So they
portion
get the
of
golf
it.
tournament here, and the yacht
They're
club
going to go over
gets-
there and do the food.
then
The
the yacht club
question,
gets-
yeah, for the food, the yacht club food. So the question is, does Turns Grill downstairs now revert back to Casper? It's fine. I just wanted a clarification.
Yes.
It looks to me like it goes back to Casper, the food.
Done.
Oh, that's what I
Well,
need.
we've not had the issue. Yeah, correct. We just used it this year because.
Correct.
If I may, we're asking David to open up a big facility. He's going up the stairs with 500 champagne glasses. We're asking to match. I think this is best. Have him focus on where it is. New facility. That's just my personal.
I
I
agree. I
concur.
just wanted a clarification, that's all.
Right
I
down,
wasn't
Marty
sure.
and I agree.
That's
That's it. The bar's over.
I'm going home.
What was that? Did Bob just faint?
I did. I almost fell out. I was like, "Whoa, I can't believe I said that."
How much of the growth, negative 237 to a negative 73, is the increase in food and beverage revenue? How much of it?
Yardy's gone, but can't go back.
It's a little bit, not much.
A little bit for the food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not much.
Beverage and beverage. You're about $20,000 revenue. Right. Labor costs and all that stuff.
Can somebody remind me again when their contract expires?
This year,
Sure.
the next course of business we're going to have to do, and I'm going to bring it up. We need to sit and talk about the contract.
And at the end of the, when?
May 1st.
I mean, it's just so ambitious, but it's.
That's the machine does the whole model. Take your roll.
It's been a long day. This room's getting a
Go
little
ahead, Marty.
crazy.
Marty, I'm listening. I don't know.
You guys
Anybody
are
else.
so bad.
We're listening on our end.
I'm afraid you and I might agree on something. I'll be rolling hot dogs. The 73.3 minus. I thought we spoke earlier, as did budget finance. Look for those extra 1,800 rounds,
That's what you
We
said.
found them right there.
That's what you said.
and that we're going to make this balance that at zero, break even, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No,
Jack's
no,
taking
no, no.
Jack's taking half and Phil's taking half.
No. It's you got to sell 1,800 rounds, which is 6% of what for the first part. The break even.
But we're not changing. See?
Well, no, we are changing the numbers of this budget. That's what we're doing here today, is changing numbers. If you're not going to change the numbers, we should have just all stayed home today and watched the Young and the Restless. No, I think that they recommended, and I'm party to and agree with, that we ought to make this zero. Just spent millions of dollars on this golf course. I agree with Phil, it's a nap overnight. But if we can't sell the additional rounds necessary to break even,
Well, they're
We're
already
not-
obviously selling a lot of more
Yeah,
rounds
they're
to
al-
recover from 273 to 7.
well, when you say that, you're going back to a year where we had half a golf course. If you go back to the average,
Well, you can't average because of 9
no, I'm going back for that.
months.
I mean, we spent millions. We did 27 100 rounds last year. In this terrible year, and half done, yada, yada, yada. This year they're projecting 3,400 rounds. 1,000 rounds, I'm sorry. So,
7,000 more rounds,
Mhm.
which is
so let's go
already
for another 1,800, break even. Or why don't we cut 5,000 rounds and lose some? Maybe that makes sense.
Again, the budget's around the fact that we've made a significant investment. Okay, we believe our course is in good shape now. Not that there's not future work that we're going to need to focus on, but you notice we don't have any major expenditures here. The fact that we're overcoming years of questionable conditions, and last year we started to come out of that. We're pleased. Our bookings are up, so all that's favorable. But because we see something favorable for a year doesn't necessarily mean we've closed that gap. We're going to get the amount of business we had hoped for. This is a stepped approach from improvement to the conditions of the course. We've seen the improved business midway through this year, and we're seeing bookings start to line up for the spring of 14-15. And in addition, we've already got some bookings, a booking that already scheduled to the spring of 2015. So we've never had that far things are booked out, not as long as Art and I can go back to it, just because we haven't had conditions. And we don't see closing that complete gap this year.
Well, if we could get it down to zero, it's $8.68. Single assessment. It's not an unreachable or unreasonable goal to spend a couple of $1 million and expect to break even.
Philosophically, Marty, that would be fine if they weren't already improved, showing a 25% increase
Well, that's not
from 27,000 rounds to 34,000 rounds. You take 7,000, what percentage of that is that of 27,000? It's about 25% increase in 1 year. So, I mean, they're already growing 25% as it is, and I'm sitting here questioning whether they're going to get that.
Well, and the fact is, they're $100,000 off budget by forecast. So, I mean,
I'm not going to I can't vote to artificially increase their round count by 1,800 just to artificially lower a due in order to end up in a loss money at the end of the year, I don't see the value.
Well, it's about, I have to check.
Just did it.
It's 40% less than what they're doing at Eagles Landing. in warehouse. Why is that? I know that because it's online. So, I don't have it with me. I've got it. Okay.
It's 30.
Wait a minute. How many rounds did we play 10 years ago? It was over 40, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, yeah. We were up close.
2006, 2007.
I know what they
Total
were.
rounds were.
We had a man who knows exactly what it was. Why do you need to know that?
Well, because we're making a big deal out of doing 36,000 rounds.
34.
No, 36 to break even. I don't think that's a big deal for a Robert Trent Jones
Well,
rifle to
from
make an effort.
2006, the largest number of rounds had. Keeps these statistics. 31,897. 31,000.
Pathetic. No wonder we're losing.
31,009. And that
Yeah,
was
let me
11.
say, no wonder we're losing.
That was 11, 12.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
And the vast majority of those were resident Rangers, members.
Be careful what you say. What kind of members?
Well, they were
Golf
resident
members or
Rangers.
Ocean Pines members?
Ocean Pine.
Golf.
You have to have residents if you want to find.
So they're most of those rounds were members? We only have 243 members.
That's not.
Oh, yes, it is.
Oh no, it's not. It's not when you're playing 3 times a week. It's not unusual. You know, it's like you going sailing 3 times a week.
Yeah, but I
You
got
know, it's
paid
no
for
big-
my boat.
Exactly. And these guys are paying to do it. But I don't see it. I don't. If the best production they've had since '06 is 31.9, and these guys, and I'm going to tell you something. January, February, March, and April, they're projecting 7,298, 7,300 range. Well, we better have a pretty mild January and February. Like my friend said, I mean, you know, there were a couple of bluebird days we had in January, you got some play. But
You're
it was
talking this year's budget now.
Uh-huh.
You're talking this year's.
That's correct. Yeah, I'm talking this year's budget that these guys have. I thought
we
it
better
was-
hope the
I thought
forecast
it was-
doesn't
I
get
thought
any
it was
worse
rough.
after we budget. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I thought it was aggressive, and Marty, I don't know what the answer is to get down to zero. I don't know what it is, but I
Lease it out to an entrepreneur.
I think that increasing the number of rounds is going to be tough to do.
Now, if you sell it to somebody who lives or dies by the number of rounds, somebody doesn't take a check home on Friday if he doesn't sell it. He'll be over knocking on Hale Harrison's door with a plate of cookies in the morning.
That's all fine and good. You can find consulting companies just to take that deal. Love that.
Are you
Yeah.
serious? Do we have a consensus?
No, we don't have a consensus because what you just said doesn't make any sense.
What, lease it out?
You show me somebody who wants to lease our course and take on all our expense and everything we've got. You find me that company and they're about to go out of business in the golf business today. That doesn't make sense. They're not out there. So they'll be more than happy to come in and have you pay all the expense and all that. I'm not saying we can't change the deal.
If we lease it out for $1, with $400,000, or $237 ahead this year, $536 ahead last year.
If we can get, what he's saying is if we can get somebody to take the deal.
Find somebody's going to also pay us our appreciation thing. Okay.
I'm
yes,
sure we
yeah.
can think of 100 ways to not do it.
Question. Let's say for the sake of argument that we collectively take a risk and set the number to 0. In fact, make the stretch goal stretching. What happens if, despite his best efforts, best efforts, we don't make that goal?
year we budgeted
No. Not interested.
nothing.
What's the risk?
That's
Well, that's actually not, because at some point you have to evaluate as a manager.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
If you automatically set them up for a wage that,
No, but what you have to do is you have to recognize that if the board is making that decision to take that risk, can't turn around and hold the GM accountable for that.
We don't.
He didn't do it.
no, that's true. We know that precedent.
This
No,
no,
budget's written by Casper.
No, I know, but if we zero goal, which makes us an already stretch goal, stretchy, I don't necessarily mind doing that. But if I do it, I'm going to recognize that if we fall short, absent a really bad demonstrable performance, that isn't his fault. He's just the guy trying to make a goal. So if we seriously consider doing it, we cannot proper, in my opinion, hold him, or Billy Casper for that matter, responsible for that. We want to take the risk, great. It's our dice. We roll them, and he goes and tries his best to execute.
Jeff, just to give you some history, the budget prepared by Casper for 2013
Right.
was minus 160, 159. When they closed the betting window, they were at minus 536, 901.
Right.
I don't remember any heads rolling.
No, I understand.
It is something.
I understand,
I just
but
think
we're
we
getting-
need to aim for something that makes sense.
We're getting a little farther down the road, getting a little shorter in temper about certain things, and I would just like to make it clear that if we take this risk, we take it, we're accountable, he's not.
Bad news. We are accountable. Anyways,
I understand.
we can
I'm talking
delegate
about-
authority to Bob, but we're the responsible party. It's none of us.
I got it. Don't disagree at all.
And I'll take the risk.
Well, I might take the risk too, but it would be with the understanding that I have. That's my.
It's not Bob's problem.
Well,
That's what he's saying.
But let me ask you guys something, and I appreciate you saying that, Jeff.
You mean letting you off the hook like that?
No,
Stop.
on a realistic standpoint, we've got to look at the bottom line of the association, okay? And I think we're trying to do that here. I'm not, Marty, even I think you're trying to do that, so please don't let sound otherwise. The challenge, though, is Casper teams looked at it, I've looked at this, Art's looked at this. We're trying to recognize a reasonable approach to coming out of a hole that we've had for 20 plus years. And we've made some capital investments to get there. Now, we've made a management decision 3 years ago to bring Casper in. We've done a number of things right. Now what we're going to say is, hey, to close this gap and save our membership X amount of dollars, we're going to artificially change this to show zero. Isn't that the same argument that we had when it started this morning when Marty jumped on Dennis for starting with 915? You started with the number. What's the rationale behind changing this number or zeroing it out other than the $8 fee? I'm not saying there's anything bad pointing it. I'm just pointing out this is a pretty big jump to the positive from where we are now. This is going to take a lot to get there. I think the opportunity's there for them to do it, but why would we try to make it even worse? I mean, or zero just to save that money? I just don't understand it.
My only point to that was that we have invested a ton of money in here, okay, and rightly so in my personal opinion. Okay, so we've now changed, and we've come within spit, if you will, in the current plan of taking this thing to roughly breaking. My only point is, I think it's conceivable that we can push a little harder than we already are and make that goal. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to do. I believe in stretch goals. Now, we can debate whether this is too stretchy, but that's what this is about. And I think it sends a powerful message to people about what we think of this course and the $1 million put into it. Right? We think it's a great course. It's Robert Trent Jones, not about that. We think we.
But I also remember a lot of discussion when Casper handed this budget out. Everybody around the table thought it was too lofty of a goal, so you're going to add on to that lofty goal? I don't know.
The bottom line of this is you ask what happens. If you were to take away the $73,000, then ultimately they not
Got to go get.
the $73,000 goes over to a column here, which until a few years ago, which is kind of you have a carryover loss year to year. Is that we right now have our members paying about $135,000 a year in dues to pay down, using Bob's term the other way, chip away at about $500,000, $494,000 of losses that were being chipped away at by this $135,000 paying. That's $73,000. You say, so what? It goes into that column and you pay it off. Either way, it comes out the pocket of the members. And that's the other side of this to me is if you say I want it to be zero, then it isn't zero. But what if they come in at minus 50? They have done a phenomenal job in turning this thing around.
Yes.
And they end up missing the goal. So that's all
okay. Sometimes you miss goals. That is okay.
The general public isn't going to see it.
Well, sorry. This is my personal opinion. That's the way that I would look at it because it's possible. In fact, it's possible that number, despite what we all say, comes in much better than whatever loss is projected. And I get the argument about reality and projections. I get counterpoint to that is there is a psychology that's created when you keep projecting holes in the ground. And you can't fix the entire problem by not projecting that. I think help. And it's debatable how much. But I don't think you've heard my goodness. And maybe over time we can help people understand that that's a big. I know that's it.
No, that's fine. I think at this point we will visit that tomorrow. Visit list. Anything else to bring up? Go ahead.
Okay. As I see this is one of our amenities, golf course, pool, recreation amenities. We take our annual budget, our annual association fee each owner, and divide it into different pots as to how much each our money goes to these amenities. If this budget is met, it's going to cost our membership a little over $8.60 per property.
$8.60.
I said a little over $8.60. Yes, I could have said that, Mark. I have the number. Okay. If I go back to 2009, actually, it's $23. If we went the worst year, the 63. I would be celebrating in the streets if we got down to $8.60 for a property owner for this type of facilities and amenities. Because remember, whether it's offered or not, there is a value in all these amenities, and that's what you get living in Ocean Pines. I would not encourage drop to be lower than setting them up for failure.
Two quick. First, in 2009, we hadn't just spent millions of dollars on the golf course. Millions. All new greens, all drainage, and most of it. I mean, spending a fortune. My question is, Bob, are we okay leaving our budget stuff here tonight? Correct. I mean, is it safe?
I always take
I don't think so.
I'd say
That's a good enough answer for me.
Yeah.
Okay, you will.
I'm certainly not gonna look at it
9 o'clock
tonight.
tomorrow. Joseph, would you like to say something? Go right ahead.
Would you like one of these fancy microphones?
What's interesting is last year, the Ocean Pines Board of Directors sat around and debated whether to increase the loss that CAPSBUR's projected. This year, we're sitting around and debating whether to decrease the loss projected by CAPSBUR. Now, you can't make this stuff up, Dan. In terms of the budget and how we're going to market, promote, do this and do that, somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't think over 25 years a board talked about marketing, promotion, selling this, doing this, how we're going to fill up. I can't think of any substantive change to anything in terms of the relative losses impacted by what this board does. It's almost as though if boards didn't even meet, the results would be the same. Really. I got a out-of-the-box suggestion for you. I don't know what we spend totally on ditches, picking up leaves, cleaning pipes, that whole schmear along roadways. But I think in a large part of Ocean Pines, if not vast majority of them, the ditches and the pipes are within an easement here and not within an actual road. Now, why should the easement along the roadways be any different than the easements that run between houses or any other easement that's on a person's lot? So I would suggest it might save a ton of money, and it might take a DR change. That we make each lot owner responsible, keeping the pipe under the driveway clean and keeping the ditch cleaned out. No debris in it. I'm not talking about grading it or anything like that, but just keep it clean, keep the pipe cleaned out.
Joe, I think the lots are plotted top berm. From that inside the ditch to the road is not part of the property owner's lot. The lot
No,
is
you're
platted.
incorrect. You're incorrect because my lot, if you measure the road right away, I think it's 50 feet or whatever it is, Bob, in most places. There is then an easement beyond that 50 feet on each side, and the ditch, it's that way in my
No,
house.
you have a setback requirement.
Setbacks got nothing to do with it.
I may be wrong, but you know what? I'm going to check that out with the surveyor. But the lots, to my knowledge, are platted from the ditch forward is Ocean Pines property.
That's not correct. It may be in some cases, but I'll tell you this, that there is an easement on the edge of the right-of-way, and in the vast majority of cases, that's where the ditch is. Now, you can sit there and argue with me. I'm just making a suggestion. You can check that out. But that would save a lot of money, and then we could enforce the declarations of restrictions. If an owner didn't clean it out, we go out, clean it out, send them a bill. Whatever we're spending on all that ditch work, we could virtually eliminate it. All I'm suggesting is something to look at. If you don't want to look at it, that's fine. With regards to roads and this concern about the money, where the money's coming from, I didn't think I'd hear around the day when Marty was suggesting throwing another $37 to possible assessment. I guess it has arrived. Tom, you suggested that we need to study that issue. There's nothing to study. We either get the money from the casino or it ends up coming in again from the state or we don't. If we don't get the money that we need through one of those two sources, we just need to collect it from association members. It's the only place we can get it, as Marty's. But unless and until that happens, there's nothing to study. We're either going to get the money or we're not going to. Purchase fee. No, to exaggerate, but why not make it $10,000? Talking about new revenues, right?
Purchase fee. What's the purchase
Entrance
fee?
fee.
Entrance fee.
Purchase fee, entrance fee.
250, 500, 1,000, 5,000.
These are
10,000.
10. Do I have 15?
Yeah, why not 20? So let's go all the way up. Now, just because the park and anybody else is doing it doesn't mean that it's legal, or doesn't mean that it would be legal for Ocean Pines. because there are two things that would come into play here. One is the Maryland Homeowners Association Act. The second is our Declaration of Restriction. My first question is, what authority do we have to even impose it? We're sitting around discussing this, but we don't even know if we have the authority or the legal right to do it. So I think we ought to decide that before we start adding it into the assessment.
I didn't hear us deciding.
Pardon?
I said I didn't hear us deciding to do anything.
I know you didn't, but you're talking about it.
Well, it was in the proposal for budget and finance.
So we can sit around and talk about robbing banks, but it might be recreation and parks. I kind of agree with Marty on this issue. If recreation and parks is allowed to continue submitting budgets with no boundaries, is essentially what it is. They can come up with any plan they want to do, and they're going to keep growing. I think the board ought to consider giving them a budget. You get X amount of dollars. We trust you to come up with the plans and the schemes to best serve our members, but you got to live within that budget. And not the other way around, where they come to us or come to the board and say we need another 100, 50, whatever it might be. That's going to go on continuously. Anyway, that's about it. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, 9 o'clock tomorrow, folks. Oh, I'm sorry, Don.
Joe always gets.
I'm sorry.
Maybe
You were hiding behind Jeff. I didn't see your name.
Adam, a couple of comments. One, decision that your parents have already made rates, grandfathering, and all of us who are members, and everybody that joins new next year has to pay the extra money. We normally have between 30 and 50 new members each year. And the rates you're talking about a $1,500 increase that's going to make people have to keep 2 sets of books, try to track who's a member and who's not a member. Either raise the rates for everyone or keep them the same for everyone as they are now. No reason to have 2 sets of data for 30 people. And the other thing is that 2015 Gulf budget, as you've already talked, has a $73,300 projected loss from Casper. Actual losses for the past 6 years on both Casper and Ocean Pine exceeded $200,000. So can sufficient revenue be generated to meet this number of Casper jump? At this time last year, we sat here and I heard you discuss the same things about 2014 budget of $150,100. And after much discussion, and even after expressing all the doubts you expressed, you went ahead and said, we'll approve Casper's budget as is because there are actions. Casper was confident. Then they went out and they did it. I spoke in favor of their budget last year because I thought they could do it. This year, I think there's a chance that they could meet the budget they now have, but I'm not sure. I'm not as confident as I was last year. The revenue budget for this year, $1,500,000 some thousand, is about $240,000 more than forecast for the current year we're in. Of that $240,000, $35,000 and something comes from food and beverage, merchandising, driving ranges, and things like that. The balance of that $205,000 has to be made up of golf revenue. The budget for members is pretty well fixed. You're not going to make up any revenue there. So that means that that $205,000 increase has to come from non-member play. When you calculate back, that's depending on what green fee rates you're going to get. That's anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 additional rounds. If you want to go to a zero budget, you've got to tackle another 1,500 rounds. I don't think that's realistic. Hopefully they can meet 3,500 increase is going to take. One thing they did this past year is that they increased the average green fee per round by about $10 a round. That's how you reach the money level you did this year. You didn't increase the rounds, you This year, the budget's 34. I think, unless there's something out there in Brown's book that I'm not aware of, and I'm hoping that's the case, I think we'll have trouble reaching 34,000 rounds this year. Instead of changing the budget on Cass, why don't you suggest that if they're so confident in this budget that they will reimburse Ocean Pines out of their management fee for any loss that exceeds the 73.3? I don't think they'll go for it. I would for it. But that tells you how confident they are in this year's budget. That's all I have.
Thank you. Media questions.
I just, first of all, want to thank everyone for not sending back hate mail. The most recent email I sent you all about ways to cut the assessment. Yeah, one question, I guess, and maybe this would be to Bob or anyone else who wants to answer, but at the beginning of the discussion on the Parks and Rec budget, I think Tom posed a question. Had to do with why the payroll expense had to be some amount 1 year to the next. I don't believe, now maybe I missed it, maybe I fell asleep during that part of the discussion. I don't think we really got an answer to that,
Actually,
other than the fact that maybe there was some additional program.
Comment on Hey Tom is back years that year to this year is substantial. It's actually gone up about 15 per year was the answer, I believe, off the top of my head. So it's been incremental, which reinforced the comment I would make. I think the simply growing kind of geometrically, organically on its own.
But did you get an answer as to why
to
that's?
me the answer was $15,000 to $20,000 a year, mainly.
Yeah, I think Bob said that it didn't. The way he interpreted it was not that dramatic.
Well, again, it depends on your perspective. Again, I look at it and say, I'm not saying don't approve that part of the budget. I just want to put on the table that, in my 4 years being here, that part of Ocean Pines has just continued to inch out, and it's 15 to 20,000 a year. That's, at some point, then that's when we got onto the county helping pay for some of this. Because again, it's a department I have no idea what to cut. And that's really the question. Is that if you're going to cut the budget, you got to cut programs, and what program does what? That's up to us.
Well, you also have Bob's tenure, Bob's additional active.
Right, there have.
The Christmas tree stuff.
There's
that
a lot
goes
of
on
new
in the
stuff we're
park.
doing,
There's a
which is
lot
good
of new
stuff.
Which is good.
Yeah, it is good stuff.
And
So,
the building,
And the
seven
building's
days a
open
week.
7 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hopefully that answers your question.
Yes.